Coming out to Houston VR, although we're kind of in the process of rebranding to HoustonXR to be a little more inclusive on the AR side. We have been meeting monthly for 11 and a half years now, I think. And we've brought in a lot of different speakers from a lot of different industries, aerospace, gaming, training, and so forth. We also have done a lot of outreach. The Harris County Public Library system, the school system, Comic-Palooza, and we've run a couple of years of conferences, the Immersive Technology Conference, which is focused on VR and business and industry. So, upcoming speakers for August, we've confirmed X Arcade. They're the ones that make the custom controllers. Let me go show you. It look like this. This is the X2 TV VR. You dock the controllers in it so it knows exactly where it is, and it'll map everything to supported games so that, particularly for pinball, you can grab onto the sides and they're the right spot for a pinball machine. They've got buttons on the side and so forth. They have sent one of these out. We will have it at the meetup for people to try, and someone will go home with it at the end of the night. So they will be answering questions remotely about it. They've announced that they're adding a haptics package for the pinball aspect. Cool. So it's got solenoids for the flippers, much like an actual pinball machine, so you get that kick when you're pressing them. It has 4 different vibration modules for like the various bumpers and things like that. It has a real plunger with a Hall effect sensor on it, so you get like proper plunger behavior. And then it has its own speakers and adjustments for how strong you want the haptics of the speakers. I'm not positive what the thinking is on the speakers versus just using the headset speakers, but they're there. It'll be a question we can have for them. Yeah, maybe. So that will be next month. By all means, spread the word. An important note: we will not be here next month. I am not positive where we will be, but here is where we will not be. So we are working on that. It's possible we'll be at the TXRX main campus. They have offered to host us. There's 2 or 3 other places that have offered to host us. But if you guys have an amazing idea of, wouldn't it be great if you hosted it here, or my buddy has a space that you guys could use, please reach out. That would be very, very helpful, because we're looking for some place that could be a long-term home, and the problem is that the ION has had a sort of change of philosophy on after-hours access, and so we are not well aligned.
72 hours ago. This was a surprise. Hello, by the way, notice to vacate.
Yeah, they were kind enough to let us hold this one, so with a bit of argument. So. Stay tuned. We will be sending out an email ahead of the meetup so we know where it is, but just be aware that you need to pay attention to where it is, because it won't be here. So, news. Big Screen. They are now shipping the Big Screen VR 2. Anybody here pre-ordering? No? Okay, I'm a little surprised. I know I have coworkers that have. Really, really cool headset. I've played with the original Big Screen VR. It is the lightest, smallest headset I've ever used. I can totally imagine wearing it for an extended period of time and just losing track of the fact you're even wearing it. And the fact that they shaved some size and weight off of the first generation for the second generation is just mind-blowing. Very, very nice piece of hardware. And they address pretty much all the major issues with the original Big Screen. It's got adjustable IPD, admittedly adjustable with an Allen wrench, but at least it's adjustable. And a lot of very cool things like that.
Allen wrench?
It's an Allen wrench, yes. You run a utility and then you just turn the Allen wrench until everything is lined up.
It's still very much this headset is for you.
Yeah.
Not general use for a bunch of people.
But they did do away with the custom scanned facial interface, so it's more usable by multiple people. So they are doing a special edition of their eye tracking edition that's for VR chat. It's got a translucent purple casing. It's got some digital exclusives in VR chat. The price, the same price as the orange translucent one, which is I think $75 more than the non-translucent one. And media consumption, because I'm not a Mac user, media consumption is my best use for it as opposed for productivity.
It's never too late.
I know. So I redesigned Vision Pro 2, second half of 2028. Smart glasses, audio only, smart glasses, second quarter of 2027, and true AR glasses, which has been their holy grail forever and ever, supposedly second half of 2028. I don't know whether that's like true AR glasses or just smart glasses with a display, but something that has a display. Apple acquired a company called True Meeting. It's an avatar company. They're trying to bolster their personas. There's rumor that actually their most recent update, which you can see here, the right was the old one versus the left, which is the new one, may have actually come from this company, but they wanted to bring them in-house. Because if you can get to the other side of the uncanny valley where people feel genuinely comfortable with you in this, then teleconferencing, Zoom meetings, things like that becomes very viable. I did try attending a meeting with this once, and it was an earlier version of the avatar, and it was going okay until I laughed, and then like people were like, whoa, okay, that was creepy. Your mouth was laughing, but your eyes were not, and they have made strides on that as they've moved forward.
Can you demonstrate that?
Not easily. Valve, no real new news on that. Just be aware that the Project Deckard headset seems to be coming in late 2025, early 26 for about $1,200. Given how good the Index was, there's a lot of people very excited for this headset. They make really good hardware. Presumably mostly for PC use, but it may actually. There's a lot of rumors that the Steam Deck, or what do they call it? The handheld Steam Deck. Is that right? Yeah. A lot of that was geared towards being kind of the back end for this, so we'll see. There have been a lot of wild rumors of how this may work, and honestly, it's Valve. They probably prototyped all of them, and who knows which one they're actually going to go with. Snapchat. Snap Spectacles, which Ted has. I don't know, maybe even has with him. Has with him. This is a really cool use. Real-world ad blockers. Detects ads, and just because it's a proof of concept, they're just sort of putting a translucent thing over. But my thought was you should put like famous works of art over top of them and just make your world more beautiful and less full of ads. This is a really cool use case for walking through the world, and those ads are just gone. I've seen other kind of things in the same vein where, for example, if you see a corporate logo, it'll put their political contributions out next to the side, things like that, where you're getting kind of richer information. But this is very cool. So.
Snap had an absolutely massive activation at AWE.
Did they?
They spent millions.
Wow.
They were there in force with a huge team, huge activation, very much pushing into.
Was it compelling or just expensive?
They were showing the current spectacles, talking about coming soon is going to be the next gen.
Okay. Yeah, I mean the current gen spectacles are very much dev focused. They're not meant to be end user products. It's just so that you have something to build on for the consumer release.
It was them saying the time is now.
Where have I heard that before? So Pico, apparently they've pivoted again to a lightweight HUD with tethered computing puck. Which if you look on the left, that's the Puffin, which was a prototype from Meta. The other side is the Big Screen Beyond 2. And they've said that it's probably actually more of a Big Screen Beyond 2 form factor, but with a tethered puck for standalone. Pico tends to kind of follow the pack. It lets people see where the desire is, and then they retarget towards that. They're not usually kind of out ahead of it. But I think the fact that Meta delayed their Quest 4 in favor of a lightweight, compact headset with a tethered computing puck reshaped their thinking on what made the most sense. So, speaking of Meta, they released a Quest 3S Xbox Edition. It's basically just a 3S with different colors, but it comes bundled with an Xbox controller and an Elite strap and 3 months of Game Pass Ultimate for $400, which is a pretty good deal if you wanted all those things anyway. It sold out more or less instantly. I don't know if there was that much demand for its use as sort of a gaming, flat gaming headset, or whether people just really thought it looked cool and wanted the exclusive. But
Game Pass Ultimate in the headset is really fun.
yeah. this kind of harkens way back in the very, very early days of Meta. They had a theater environment, and they appear to be looping back to that. There was a leak back in January. No, they didn't announce what they said that they were working on. A shared theater environment where you could be with your friends and watching things. And there are people that go through the firmware and all the software releases and dig in and find the hidden stuff. And someone dug it out. And it looks like they are getting close on that. So we will presumably see that soon. As I was saying earlier, Quest 4 has been delayed by a year from 2026 to 2027 in favor of something more of the form factor of sunglasses. Lightweight, compact, maybe a little more socially acceptable. Has a tether that'll run back behind your ear to a pocket or a purse where you've got a computing puck that does all the heavy lifting, and that takes all that weight and heat off of you, and it means you can also put a heavier battery in it without it weighing down your head. So the Quest one is going to be hand track only, no controllers, the Meta one. So presumably more for like media consumption than gaming, but there are games that support that, so I guess we will see. I'm not quite sure how powerful they're aiming for it to be. I guess we'll just find out, but there's a lot of interest in lightweight, small form factor. The Oakley Meta glasses, they launched back July 11th. Cameras are higher res, longer battery life, reduced weight. They have 7 different versions of it targeted towards different sports uses primarily. But for people who are really into the Meta glasses, the Ray-Bans, these are a pretty cool option.
A lot more water resistant too.
Right. So also some leaks of a purported next-gen set of Ray-Bans. We're not sure whether it's a 2025 or 2026 launch, but these line up with some earlier rumors where they have kind of 2 different form factors and naming for sunglasses versus purely prescription lenses. So Simulia and Luna, some of the big data miners, they managed to suss out some images of the upcoming Hypernova glasses with the wristband. The wristband's really cool because it's just reading the electrical impulses in your muscles, so it can track your hand gestures even if your hands are completely out of sight. So that allows you to sort of very unobtrusively be doing things without having to kind of stick your hands out in front of you, which is certainly promising. And then you get this one shot that kind of shows the projector right there on the inner edge. It also says Meta Celeste engraved on it. We don't know whether that's like an internal prototype name or whether that's actually a permanent name. We're expecting somewhere between $1,000 to $1,400, so not inexpensive at all, but it'll have a small heads-up display. This is not a true AR. These are not true AR glasses. It's not overlaying your world and understanding your world in that sense, but it does all the things that Meta Ray-Bans do and also has a heads-up display. So you can see your notifications, you can see your Google Maps directions. Actually, I think the thing that's probably the coolest for it is real-time translation. Because right now, they can do that, but you have to have this sort of very stilted conversation where you say everything, and then it translates, and then they say everything, and then it translates again. There's like these huge gaps in conversation. If they can just subtitle it as you're going, that's a big win. So. Anduril, which is where Palmer Luckey landed after the whole Meta exit fiasco. They've been working on a headset, or really now more of a platform, called Eagle Eye for the military. They're taking over. There was the Super Soldier Initiative, which was originally Microsoft. They lost that contract. And so Anduril swooped in, and they're partnering with Meta. So he has kind of come full circle back to Meta to partner with them on the hardware. It's going to have several times the resolution of the Apple Vision Pro, and there's going to be different headsets for different uses, for different roles on the battlefield. It uses multiple micro displays per eye, so they get like a really wide field of view. That choice has some trade-offs. You can visibly see the seams on that, and they said that's something that they wouldn't necessarily do for a consumer product because it's aesthetically not that pleasing. But if you're interested in utilitarian use, then who cares if it's got a seam? That's irrelevant. So they were saying, likely around $10,000 a headset. And they said that's not them like trying to gouge the government. It's just they're in the really cool position of if something costs 3 times as much but is 20% better, do it. We're all in. The potential benefits so much outweigh the costs that we'll pay for it. So I tell you what, I am going to hand off to Ted. And we'll let him talk.
It was like stable. It was like a complete wraparound. So you have like this spinning head inside this stable mushroom.
Yeah, so last year or so, pretty much since the Quest 3, I've kind of shifted my focus over more to AR and eyewear while I'm waiting on the next big VR thing. So I figured I'd share some stuff with you guys, some trial and error, and doom scrolling to save you some time.
You can never take me away from my doom scrolling.
All right, so where we're coming from, I was surprised to see those dates, but first time I put on the HoloLens, I was kind of blown away with disappointment by how small the FOV was. But I mean, it's kind of got the ball rolling, these two guys. So it's interesting to kind of look back and see where we were, how far we've come, and about how long it took us to get there. So just so you guys remember, that's the whole Magic Leap demo where they're like, we've got this cool new AR thing that's coming out, it's gonna be awesome, won't believe it, and well, we shouldn't have believed it. And they pivoted, they did some other stuff, but I was reminded by what they were promising back in the day. Okay, so where we're going, there's the Orion, that's like the new gold standard of where we want VR to be. So, yeah, the FOV's a lot more significant than the HoloLens was. You know, you've got tons of different input methods. The puck is interesting, but it makes sense, especially for kind of where the technology options are now. But we're gonna have to wait a while to get there. So part of this too is kind of what you can do like right now, you know, while you're waiting on the next cool thing to come out.
What does EMG stand for?
Electromagnetic
I got the first two words.
instant, I think. But it's basically the wristband, the signals, the electromagnetic signals it's picking up from your muscle movements on the wrist. All right, so some of the options for right now, you know, of course, the Ray-Ban Metas you see, I love them. They are great for taking pictures real quick. You don't have to reach into your pocket, take out your phone. You can snap it, stay within the moment, you know, less distracting. I'm looking forward to the day where I go to a big event, a concert or something, and don't see this all throughout throughout the crowd. So that's one of the things I'm looking forward to is more people transition to the glasses. But the audio is a surprising good feature for it too. It was like you listen to music, take phone calls real quick, get message notifications. The AI is haven't really transitioned that much into using it because there's still a delay when you're asking questions, so it's not as natural conversation as you would have, but it does come in handy, you know, if you're talking to someone, you need to fact check something, or even, you know, what's that thing, you know, trying to think of something, you can just ask the glasses real quick instead of pulling your phone out. So, of course, that's the Ray-Ban's the more mainstream one, so you've even got Thor there with the glasses on. Chris Hemsworth, right? Yeah. But you know, you see tons of like knockoff versions or cheaper versions. The Razer Anzu, I tried those out. They're pretty decent. Instead of the touch interface, they have a push button, so there's a little bit more friction there with using it. But they do have the full audio features. They don't have the built-in AI. But it works just like basically like earbuds, like sunglasses with earbuds built into the thing. So on the video glasses side, since you know the AI integrated side doesn't have a display on the glasses, these are kind of where I was looking at for actually getting a display that you could look at. So I've tried all of these except for the Row Kit. I started with the X-Real Airs, and I couldn't really get a good position on my face, your nose bridge, and how your nose is shaped, you know, how far up, how far down, really affects getting to that sweet spot on the screen, which is pretty hard to do. So I swapped those out, tried the Vision Pros there. It's not a perfect sweet spot, but it's the best one I've found. And with the brightness that they have, they work great out in the world. You know, like I use them in the car, I use them at the doctor's office, and I don't have problems with glare, with light bleed or anything like that. Plus they've got a transition mode where they can go full opaque or see-through.
How's the field of view on all
The field of view is decent. It's about like where you're sitting. It would be about the size of this screen here. If you're sitting from that distance, maybe a little bit bigger. But I do have them if you want to try out the Vision Pros. The Radio Air 2s, I tried those out out of curiosity, and it had that same kind of thing. I couldn't get a spot where I could see the whole screen comfortably. All right, now you can extend those glasses, you know, since they don't work by themselves, they have to be plugged into something. They can be plugged into a computer, phone, Android or iPhone. Some of them need adapters for specific phones, but they also, a lot of them have their own integrated little devices that basically serve for media and some additional features, like the X-Beam and the Radio Pocket. They can serve as input devices as well, kind of gyroscopic input, but they also connect. They have like Android built into them, so you can load apps on it. The Radio Pocket, which I still have, it could take a micro SD card in it as well, so you can load it up with tons of entertainment, and the battery life is pretty decent on it as well. The Vision neckband, I tried that out, and it generates a lot of heat. So some people can handle it. It was too uncomfortable for me. It didn't seem reasonable to have all that heat around my neck. So I was not crazy about that. But it does extend the features out on the Vision as well. Like I think it's got some additional. I think it adds 3 DOF in it, and it's got a little some controls on it as well that you can control it from the neck instead of the glasses, which is not that far, so it's not a big deal. But some of the newer versions that are coming out, it's a little bit more significant in how it extends out the features. There's some outliers, it's kind of all across the board. Amazon Echo glasses are, and they're a little bit on the cheaper side, but they're still pretty expensive. Not that I recommend, but you can see Amazon trying to jump in on it, and they do connect to Alexa. So you can have that, you know, regardless of how close you are to a speaker if you have them at home. The Ohos are a little on the cheaper side, along with the Razors that you saw before. The Brilliant Labs, they believe they're open source, but they're the mono display.
Open source.
Yeah.
So you can get the what parts to order from like DigiKey, and you can build it yourself.
Right. But when I was looking for reviews for them, it was very hard to find reviews to like see how legitimate they were. A lot more popping up now, but it just shows to kind of how long it may take to get a hold of them. Inmo, they kind of started out on Kickstarter, I believe, but they're kind of on their second, third version of some of the glasses. The Go is more along the lines of the Ray-Ban Metas, but they do have screen glasses coming up as well. They're about to launch another Kickstarter for that. So as far as what we have now available that's closest to the Orion, the Ray Neo X2 came out a little while ago. It's sort of difficult to get them. They ship from overseas. They're sold out now, but they're super bulky. Their apps were very limited. The graphics looked amazing, but without the software, there wasn't much you can do with it other than play like three-dimensional Snake. And with some of their apps, the ring that's included is kind of on the bulky side too, so it's not really comfortable to use. And some apps require you to use the ring too. So you kind of have to connect, wait for the ring to connect to the glasses every time you want to launch an app that requires it. Just a bit of a pain. I ended up sending them back. But I said I was really impressed with the graphics. The specs were pretty good. The battery life was good, especially for the chip that's in there. It's got a VR chip in it. They mentioned an X2 Lite that they were working on, but then they kind of dropped that in favor of just going for X3. The spectacles, those I still have. But as Eric pointed out, those are more of a dev kit. It's even kind of painful to sign up for it. So you pay $100 a month, but you have to commit to a year contract with them. So, you know, if you get them, you don't like them, oh well. But the graphics on them are amazing too. Only thing is portrait mode to kind of support the whole snap phone format. That's a little bit annoying. The battery life is abysmal. You know, you get less than an hour on it. But it's got an app store built into it, so people are building apps, adding to it all the time. The development software they have for it is pretty straightforward. It's like kind of a bit of a neutered version of Unity. So it's, I mean, it's decent to work with, and they do have an AI assistant built into it. So that's pretty nice for development side of things. All right, so what we have coming up, as I mentioned, the MO Air 3, they're the one that has the Kickstarter coming up. Google was, of course, showing off the glasses that they've been pretty hush-hush about, but it's a mono display, but it is in color, which is nice. Xiaomi launched some glasses, and they're kind of tied into the Chinese market. So that's not that great or it's not that practical for us to use. You basically be doing your voice commands in Chinese.
Hey Ted. Hi, sorry, I have those on right now, the Even Realities G1. I don't know if you want to try them on.
That's a good
I was walking by and I saw it on the screen.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Feel free to pass them around, look up 90 degrees. I'm blind as hell, just heads up if you get a headache. Just look up like move your head like up here.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Cool.
Nice. Yeah, I was really on the fence with us.
Sorry. I thought I was walking by, I couldn't read it.
Yeah, that's great.
Welcome to Houston VR.
Thank you.
That's cool.
Yeah, so kind of the next wave that we're seeing before the big boys come out with all the heavy duty stuff. Of course, it showed off the Meta one. I'm not sure where Hypernova came from. It's pretty hard to find naming stuff on them other than like the leaks of the sweats that are printed on there. But I missed that. But yeah, there's the Ray Neo. It's where they pivoted from the X2 Lite to the X3, which was really disappointing because the X2 Lite is supposed to have somewhat all-day battery life, like 6 to 8 hours, instead of the X2 Snapdragon. They were using the AR2, which made a lot more sense, but they dropped that. And then Inmo Air 3, you know, that looks really interesting. You see some cool stuff on their website showing it off, but it's, of course, Kickstarter, so who knows when that's going to drop. For the video glasses, these are the big two to watch from the research that I've been doing. The X1 Pro, everyone's been talking about it because they've been pretty good for the 6DoF and showing off a lot of Android features as they're transitioning into Android XR. The X1 Pro doesn't have Android XR, but it does have the 6DoF with the camera addition you can add to it. But one of the things that kind of killed it for me was the brightness. Like I said, I like to use it when I'm out. I don't really use it at home. So having the Vitcher Lumas from their new brand or their new line is dropping right now, actually. They've got 4 different models that are coming out this month, next month, in Some of the options do have the 6th off in it. They do have, let's say they're up to 1200 or 1200p resolution, so it is a little bit better than the X1 Pro. The beam that comes with it, the little puck, or not comes with it, but it's an accessory that you can get for the X1 Pro. That looks like it'll extend out the features quite a bit. There's the new neck band coming, and with your Loomer, they're kind of leaning more towards the gaming side. They've got a handheld device you can just plug your phone into and connect that directly into the headset and just be good to go. That's where I'm leaning towards. They're like doing pre-orders now, so that kind of saves a little bit of time until we get into the more 2026 and 27 headsets. This is a great website you want to check out, just to keep an eye on things. It's got tons of headsets in there. Some of their information is outdated, but it's VR, it's AR, it's a lot of good info. And if you want the slides for yourself, there's a couple of links to it.
If you're okay with it, I can sit down.
So I've got the Victor Pros with me and the Snap Spectacles, so afterwards, if you want to check them out, just grab it.
So thank you so much for bringing those in. Thank you for those.
All right. David Wyatt from Mighty Coconut, based in Austin, just up the road. We also have some folks in Boise and a few people scattered around the world. We're about 37 people, and I'm going to try to kind of tell the story of how it came to be, as well as how we make each course, and then get a little bit into kind of where we're headed as well. So feel free if you have kind of like on-topic questions as I go through slides, raise a hand, and then we'll have time at the end as well. And hopefully some socializing time if you'd rather do that one-on-one. Walkabout Mini-Golf, if you all aren't familiar, it's a mini-golf game for Quest, PlayStation, Pico, Steam, Rift, and iOS currently. And it's got a base game that includes 14 courses, each with a hard and easy mode, and then now 21 DLC. And really the big secret feature is social presence. It's being there with your friends, right? Or with yourself, with your imagination. Mini golf is there. That's a big, that's kind of the mechanic, and we take the physics really, really seriously, but really it's about going to imaginary places that you'd want to go, kind of escape your daily life, go on an adventure with your dad or your fiance, your college buddy, or again, just kind of by your lonesome. And so we have this, this wonderful sort of gift of creating mini golf just in an iterative fashion. Month after month, we have a course coming out every 7 weeks, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about how and why we do that and kind of the backstory. So here's a few of the courses. Let me back up there. We did a licensing deal with Jim Henson's Labyrinth. That was our first licensed course. We'll do Lost Cities like Atlantis, which is a personal favorite. We did a Jules Verne series. This is 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. And so that you can kind of see that these very themed environments like you'd see at a regular mini golf place, right? There's kind of a caricature, there's a sense of fantasy. And the themed worlds are a big attraction because not only do you get to play mini golf and kind of have mechanics and a shape language around those themes, but also there's kind of what we call environmental storytelling. So there's a chance to invite people to sort of speculate about what's just happened here, right? And really kind of for you to feel the presence of the inhabitants of these places, but also what may have just happened just around the corner as well. This is a personal favorite of mine, Around the World in 80 Days, which came out in January of last year. So, they go on and on. Sweetopia, we have so many different courses, different themes, and it's something that we make all in-house. We've got a team. It started with one person, Lucas Martel. He made it during the pandemic lockdown. Started as a phone game. Showed it to someone at Meta, approached him at Indiecade, and said, "Hey, you really need to get this on the Quest." And he's like, "All right, yeah, that sounds good. I'll set aside the phone version and make this VR version." And Quest 2 is right around the corner, and of course, the pandemic was a really big surge time for VR, and they said, you need to put multiplayer in it. It's like, no one wants to do VR mini golf together. That sounds, he didn't want to do that. They said, trust us, do that. So a lot of it was sort of luck and chance and timing, but it hit September of 2020 and organically took off. As I said, no investors, no capital, venture capital. It's all just sort of paid for by players liking the game, buying the game, the DLC, and telling their friends about it. And so that's really kind of paved the way for just building up the team and adding for our ability to do more and more courses and now modes and other activities and worlds. Let's see, let me get past this run of different courses. Alfame, which is kind of an elven world. Mist, we did a Mist, that was our second licensing deal. Those guys were a ton of fun to work with. They were totally, my favorite quote when we announced that was, sacrilege, I can't wait, which is kind of what, that's what you want. You want people to be like, that makes no sense whatsoever. Let's go mini golf there. So yeah, needless to say, we feel very grateful to be able to do all these kind of fantasy worlds, and it gives us lots of opportunities. And one thing that jumps out is we're a low poly game. So meaning it kind of looks like, magical origami. And really it's an artistic choice, but also it's a performance choice, right? Because we want to be accessible, not just on the most cutting edge or wired setups, but we want to be accessible on the most number of headsets that are out there that are possible, because people want to play again with their loved ones. And so they want to be able to play on whatever headset they have laying around. They want to dust it off, hand down a headset and play. So we want to make sure that we have a style and kind of a box to work in, technologically speaking, that will reliably play for 8 players at a time, across different headsets, across different servers. And so we use this kind of low poly style as a way to deliver on that, make them beautiful and elegant, but also efficient, so they don't just like run down people's batteries instantly. Yes, you can see more and more worlds. This is Don Carson made this presentation, so it's very, very world heavy. Another big thing that we'll do in our courses is, we want to sort of, people ask us all the time, how do you choose a place? Like, what makes for a good place? And they ask us usually, like, do you want to do this IP or that IP? But also, someone was talking about Tron over dinner. It's the kind of format where it evokes the imagination and people like get ideas for it. And it's our kind of criteria is it's a place that you want to spend a lot of time in, and so we want to meet people's expectations about those, but also kind of exceed and kind of surprise them in some sort of way. So like people were asking for, Santa's Village, of course, forever. We're like, well, we could do that. We could do a 1-to-1 Santa's Village, but it kind of seems right down the middle of the road. But once we had the idea to combine that with being miniature and combine that with kind of a Christmas tree in a cabin, that was the surprise that we could give people. And also needs to be a place that people want to revisit again and again and again. People have talked about, you should do a prison course. You should do a supermarket course. You should go to the Titanic. It's like, yes, but also those places are kind of a bummer. Some of them are sacred sites. You're not necessarily going to want to go there again and again and play goofy mini golf necessarily. So that's kind of, and we want to keep it interesting for ourselves because we feel like that conveys to people, if they feel the fun and joy in making it, that'll make all the difference versus we just crank something out, right? So yeah, we really work so hard to make these story-rich worlds, and that comes from our background. Previous to making Walkabout Mini-Golf, for about 8 or 9 years, we had been an animation studio. So we did a short film called Ocean Maker. We did another film called Pigeon Impossible, which went on to become Spies in Disguise with Will Smith and Tom Holland. It came out in 2019. And we did a lot of shorts and animation VFX for hire. So we'd already had this kind of practice and discipline of making these story-rich worlds. And so when we made mini golf, you can see the animation kind of in how we come at it. But also, again, we want to do this environmental storytelling because we felt like it added kind of a participatory element. There's a lot of immersive experiences in games more broadly where they just kind of want to take you through the experience, like do this and then find this thing, go here. And the worlds are kind of yada, yada, yada. They can be beautiful, but you're not really encouraged to like go off the path and go look at those. And we really wanted to make open, explorable worlds where there was a reward for flying, half a mile that way and being like, I found something over here. Because there's that childlike sense of like I want to Peter Pan out the window, but also there's joy in telling each other, being like, hey, have you seen the thing? Or I want to show you how to fly. That really adds a lot of value to the experience. We hear so much from, especially parents and adult children, where they'll say, I've been having these stilted 5-minute phone calls with my dad for years. And it was like, how's the car? And have you called your mother? And then we got a VR headset, and all of a sudden we're laughing. And we're giggling, and we're going on adventures together, and he's showing me golf moves. And so it's just sort of like the story makes them richer and deeper, but also they make them more worthy of sharing and kind of showing to one another. Let's see. Yeah. So yeah, we make these story-rich worlds, and mini golf is kind of the through line, right? That's the reason of being there. That kind of gives you that sense of getting something done. So it's like theme parks where mini golf sort of runs through the middle of it. Don Carson, who's our senior art director, he comes from Disney Imagineering, so he's designed a lot of Disney rides and other amusement park attractions that you'd be familiar with. And he's made the leap to come over to work with us. He started the same month I did, actually, in late 2021. And so he really adds this sort of sense of, what's that? Oh, sorry. This sense of environmental storytelling to everything that we do, which he really defines as this art of crafting a space that evokes a deep narrative. So again, like I think there's this tendency in immersive world building where people build like a crisp cube or a white box. And he likes to make everything kind of feel carved away in the touch of a hand. You'll see a lot of overturned things and things that are kind of askew and chipped off rocks. It kind of connotes a story that something has happened there. We can speculate and be like, it looks like to me like the Egyptians that were here like ran away in a hurry and something, what does that book over there mean? And so again, it invites speculation so that people feel like it is a real place. And I would say like that's a real hallmark of what we do is we design and talk about and market and kind of support the game as though it's a place and not a game, right? We have rules, we have kind of a little miniature community society within it. We very much talk about it and steward it as though it's a physical place and not just a game that people are playing, because that has a whole different set of connotations. So I've kind of beat myself to the punch on this. A little bit about Mighty Coconut. We started in film production, so we do tend to think cinematically. We kind of work more like an ensemble or a jazz band in that it takes us about, I'm probably again going to be beating myself to the punch here, but it takes us about 15 months to make a course. And we're constantly kind of overlaying and kind of moving this course through a pipeline. We've got about 7 or 8 courses in active development at any one time, but we have them planned maybe 15 ahead. So right now we're planning courses into the middle of 2026. But we have other courses that we're kind of concepting out and laying out. And so the ensemble and jazz band part of it is it's less like a symphony where one person has the vision, says everyone follow my idea and plan to the note. And it's more like there's kind of a structure, there's a box, there's a verse and a chorus and a solo section. But you want every hand that touches it to make it a little bit better. And I think if you've played the game, you'll feel that humanity, that there's a lot of different viewpoints in there, a lot of references, a lot of different kind of styles within our kind of house style that add to that sense of kind of the jazziness and improvisation within the structure. I think another unique thing about it is that our tech art team has just as much creative influence as the design teams. The design team is 4 people. It's Don, it's Lucas who created the game, it's Henning, and our latest design team member, Laura. They come up with the concepts, they lay out the basic shape of it in Gravity Sketch, but then the tech art team adds a whole lot into that as they go on through the development of the course as well. So that's kind of a fun part of how we work. So I think, part of building courses in VR, now we very much start with pencil and paper, it's around a napkin or an iPad or something like that, or a piece of paper. But then we really quickly, like in those summits where we'll go meet in person, it goes right into Gravity Sketch, right? And so we get in there and sculpt it out and really are carving out, the topography of it and the vistas of it. So, we call it like the walkabout path in the course. So if you play the game again, you'll round a corner around hole 3 and you'll be like, and that's when you discovered there was a huge robot around the corner or something like that. So we'll very much from the conception, even to know if the idea is going to work, build it in VR to understand that sense of scale, the vistas, the sight lines, what's on the horizon. It's so important so that we're not kind of troubleshooting that several months in when there's 15 people working on the course at once. So when we have 2 people in there, we can use VR and Gravity Sketch very much to shape that kind of idea. So a little bit about our production process for you, those of you who are interested. Excuse me. Again, we start off with pen and paper, concepts and sketches, and go right into Gravity Sketch where we lay out. This is Atlantis. So this was like, in the same session. Pen and paper, sitting at the countertop, and then moving right into headset and building some initial shapes. We get a sense of how that would work. Again, how we're going to make like one explorable world that everyone can be in the same space, and how that will sort of all fit together. So this was Journey to the Center of the Earth. Sorry, I'm seeing it from an askewed view.
How many hours does it take you to build a world?
That's a great question. I don't know if we've quantified it that way. I mean, it takes about 15 months, and it's about, on the actual production team, it's about 32 people. But again, it's like you'll have a week on it, and you'll go off and come back. So it's across that 15 months where you're sort of, it's passing through that pipeline. So I don't know. I'll look that up for sure. Yeah, we're coming up on our 5th anniversary in a couple of months, and I'm tasked with like Walkabout by the numbers. So I'm going to look up that number. It's a really good idea. So this is Atlanta. So again, this is like one of the initial drawings. You can see 1-to-1. It's pretty much how it ended up, because it was very much in that first session of figuring out scale and topography and what the path around and what lines you're going to be seeing, in that sense of discovery as you work your way from hole 1 to hole 18. Labyrinth, so another kind of example of our Gravity Sketch kind of world building and getting a sense of layout. And then we move very much into art and modeling. So in the case of Labyrinth in particular, that's a linear story rather than just a place. And in some cases, like Wallace and Gromit and Labyrinth, we're tasked with fitting the world together in a way that it actually has never fully had to fit together, because it's one thing, there's not scenes. But this kind of had a linear story, so we kind of took players through the story as they experienced it in the movie, so they kind of relive that story in real time and end up in the castle of the Goblin King at the very end. So there's narrative opportunities as well as just world building opportunities. Then after the art and modeling phase, excuse me, we get into design and gameplay. So we have a small team that works on the shape language of the holes, a lot of the props that they'll immediately interact with, but as well as like little props, distant things, mountains, rocks. We're building that all. We use some amount of Cinti assets, kind of like store-bought assets, especially early on in the courses. But increasingly, we're making every single little thing or customizing every stick of furniture, every vehicle. You're building it from a pencil line drawing up into a fully modeled object in the course.
How do y'all get the physics
Yeah. So we have a physics engine. Yeah. So we have I'm like the least technical person on the team, so forgive me. Seal the exits because I don't have those answers. But yeah, we basically had this engine for our previous game, which was called Laser Mazer, which was an AR phone game several years back, and it's kind of a game where you sort of navigate over lasers in your space. And the engine was called the Walkabout engine. And that was kind of like the core physics engine of the game. And so when it came time to make Mini-Golf, we're like, Walkabout Mini-Golf, that's what the engine's already called. So we didn't give that a whole lot of thought. But we have, the physics engine is probably the most proprietary part, because there's ball physics and gameplay physics, as well as modifiers for those. But now there's wind prepping and all those sorts of things that we don't tend to apply the environment to the ball physics. We've tried that, like what would underwater mini-golf feel like and space mini-golf. Not as satisfying as you would think. Very, very frustrating. But yeah, there are things like palm trees blowing, and there's a wind mechanic in several of the courses that we want to work reliably and realistically as much as we can. So let's see, concepts and schedule. Yeah, so more hole design. So we think a lot about the shape language for each course. If you're a regular player of the game, you'll know that not all borders are created equal. There's different kinds of wood, different kinds of metal. They play like elven wood plays different, has a different kind of firmness to it and bounce than, I don't know, tiki wood or something of that nature. Stones, there's cobblestones, and so there's a lot that ties into the environment but also affects the gameplay. We have a series called the Evil Layers that are set in villains' hideouts. Those are very evil. Like the shape language, the materials, and the obstacles are like punishingly hard. So we think a lot about that in terms of our theme design as well. More of that, more about the shape language and kind of how I put all this together. And this can start, again, like as early as a month into designing the course of really figuring out what that language and the set of shapes is going to be to affect the gameplay. And then we also add in hole mechanics. So on the aforementioned Evil Layers, it was called Ice Layer. There was that particular villain's dastardly plan was that he was making a freeze ray to freeze the world, and he was testing it on mini golf. And so if you had the misfortune of putting through the freeze ray, it would make an ice cube form around your ball, and you've got to. Very evil. It actually started off way more evil, and then we were like, guys, this is, like players will tolerate that on 2 or 3 holes with the entire course. But anyway, like your cube is like bouncing around. Yeah, exactly.
You have the lava hole, it melts or something like that.
Yeah. There was a melting mechanic that came along as part of that. As we play tested, we were like, we have to have some way of being able to, melt that ball down and, so that people could kind of grok it and figure out a way to do that. We also have anti-gravity mechanics, wind mechanics. There's all different kinds of mechanics we've added in, not on every course, but on many of the courses to kind of just add that novelty factor. And it's funny because we just released our 34th course, Crystal Layer, which is our 4th layer, and it had kind of a crystally magnetic gameplay mechanism, and someone said, this is too gimmicky. And I wanted to say, yeah, gimmicks have no place in mini golf. This is serious. But I didn't. It's one of the funny things about our game is that because the physics are more reliable than actual mini golf, where there's like, cracked concrete and, cheap rumpled carpet. Here it's like very predictable, and so people expect it to be precision. And so when there's something that throws them for a loop, they're like outraged, which is kind of funny. Anyway, yeah, so like continuing along the theme, I'll kind of move this along, so I'm sure we have questions to get into. We have lots of little theme story elements, but lots of little gags. Don has a particular sense of humor that's kind of like Far Side comics, with lots of little just sort of like the coffee maker with a laser, and like lots of little jokes like that make us laugh throughout the production process and are meant to kind of, again, we don't call them out, but players discover them, and kind of some of them are Easter eggs, some of them are teases, some of them are red herrings, but we have great fun with kind of.
Yeah, but with XKCD too.
Yeah. Tons of references in there for sure. But yeah, we make all these different sort of assets that are styled to the era, to the geographic region, and also the shape language of the course as well. Moving into kind of the actual modeled pieces, and they're all like very, very stripped down. We get this image as being a low poly game, but we actually have some of the highest number of polys in any VR game, but because they're fully explorable multiplayer worlds that everyone can experience at one time, but they're just low poly to allow for that kind of performance. So set deck and prop placement, so that's, obviously staging them in just the right way, and that kind of sets the scene for the story, the environment. Let's see, rough modeling, I'm gonna kind of advance here, we got a lot to get to. And then we'll do kind of, Zach Hall, who's our concept artist, will come in and do these drawovers and kind of light studies. And so that really helps us understand, like, what's the color palette going to be like? What lighting effect are we going for? It helps us sort of get there and come to a consensus before our lighting artist, Tony Davidson, before he actually gets in and does it, we have a consensus about what kind of mood we're going for. Let's see, there's more of those. I probably should be advancing. And then, so again, more polish, and these are kind of these color drawovers that we do. There's definitely been an increased emphasis on accessibility. Our tech director, who joined 2.5 years ago now, Colby Morgan, is actually legally blind. And so he's brought in a whole lot of ideas about how do we make things more accessible. It turns out VR is like the most accessible technology for him because his periphery is where he can see. But it's helped us kind of add in a lot of accessibility, not light sensitivity, but also sound, other things, low light kind of situations. But we kind of run things through all those different filters, and we're always making sure that we have beta testers who have different disabilities as well to make sure that we're being as accessible by the largest number of players as we can. So in the lighting phase, we're often looking for like, it's moody and cool, but can people enjoy that? We had a Journey to the Center of the Earth had on the hard mode, there was a flashlight on your putter. It started off like pitch black. It was like funny for the first hole, but after that, it would be really, really frustrating for someone with any kind of visual disability. So we made sure to change that before we launched. We'll do a whole lot of 2D art as well. That's kind of amping up. This next course that's coming up soon has probably the most amount of 2D art as well. We use texture sheets to kind of apply those over the courses. And some of what you'll see in the course is like a 2D painting, for example. You'll know that, but there'll be like all kinds of textures that like floor textures and roofing textures, especially in great big cities where you can see across. It will just be texture sheet kind of driven. But still kind of read as actually modeled.
So just a naive question.
Yes.
So is this all being done in Unity, Unreal?
Yes, Unity, yes. Unity, yes. Sorry, I forgot to mention that again. Like the non-technical person, yes, it's Unity. We're a Unity shop.
So let me just ask
yeah.
that and maybe go with the other question on physics.
Yes, sure.
So I don't know if you tried Unreal or not at all, but is it easier to incorporate physics in Unity than it is in Unreal?
That is a great question. I mean, my understanding of it is like once you pick, like switching is next to impossible. So even during the whole like controversy last year about Unity, it was like, well, we're locked into Unity. But I know that we had used Unity on previous animation projects as well. So I think we were just probably more accustomed to it. I don't know that it's easier or not. I actually couldn't. But I'll ask the team though, for sure. I'd like to know that for sure.
I can tell you the off-the-shelf physics, like packages and stuff, don't come close to what they've built for their physics engine for Mini-Golf.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm saying actually implementing the equations on your own, not off the shelf.
Yeah. We have a ton of customizations in there for sure. I know there's been a whole lot of that. We kind of have a roll your own philosophy in terms of what we do. So like our multiplayer engine, a lot of things that leaderboards, things that we haven't put in the game people want. They want meta avatars. It's like we want to have an experience we can control and that can be the same across platforms. So we're delaying so that we can make them the right way, our way. And that's true for physics, that's true for lighting. We want to do things in our really, really dialed in sort of way to get exactly the sort of look we're going for. Transitioning into, after the QA release and into marketing, we've now kind of added a live ops layer because if you've played the game, we're adding lots of, there's a course that launches every 7 weeks, so things are packaged in the build, but then we'll unlock things weekly. It's different modes, different modifiers, different announcements in the game. Eventually there'll be events. And we're always trying, we have this kind of culture with our players who are lovely, very, very positive, very, very multi-generational and international. So we have 10-year-olds, we have 90-year-olds, we have people all over the world that are playing. A lot of them are not gamers because it's mini golf and it's comfortable, it's simple, it's very understandable. But we're always trying to kind of cultivate a sense of wonder and anticipation. We don't have much of a marketing budget at all because we don't have investor dollars. So we really do it on anticipation and word of mouth. But really, again, trying to like build up this idea of you're going to want to go here. What could this be? And giving them some sort of sense. We learned the hard way with Around the World in 80 Days. It had like it was like the last of that trilogy that we did for Jules Verne. And so people had a long time to anticipate it. And when it actually came time, they were like, I thought I was going to go around the world. Because they went to Meow Wolf. Meow Wolf had some portals in it, which was kind of a sleight of hand trick. But when they got to Around the World, they were just convinced they were going to go to like 8 cities in the world. It's like, no, it's going to be in Paris. And there's going to be, airships and you're getting ready to go around the world. But setting those expectations has been something we've had to kind of learn over time because people get obsessive and they really want to anticipate all that as well. Just a little bit about Meow Wolf, and then I'll open it up for questions. So Meow Wolf was our third license we did of the 5 that we've done on full courses. Meow Wolf, if you all have one here now, so everyone probably knows what Meow Wolf is. So that actually came from a LinkedIn article we did. It was about the correlation between what we do in theme park design that Don wrote. One of the co-founders of Meow Wolf saw it and was like, hey, yeah, we're always talking about mini golf, we should talk. And I was like, yes, we should. So we emailed him. He said, you guys should just come to Santa Fe. And I'd been a couple of times, but we got on a plane, went out to meet with them. And within, half a day, we were like, yeah, let's do this. They'd never licensed one thing, not a t-shirt, not a sticker, not a lunchbox. But they saw it as this is a way they can take this very labor-intensive and kind of OSHA-laden, physical environment they have to make and do the impossible, things they could never do before. And so we had a creative partnership with them. They wanted to play and we were willing to do something wild, and we were willing to kind of go on their crazy trip with them. So we based it on Numina, which is the kind of the main chamber in their Denver location. That's the IRL version if you haven't been, oops. And then we started, kind of imagining what the underside of that might be like, what the anti-gravity version of that, what might be something that it might live in that's not a building in the middle of Denver, but it's a more organic shape. And we really had to work with Katie Kennedy, who is pictured there on the left with the green hair. She really embodies and knows the mythology, the taxonomy, every kind of aspect of Meow Wolf. So she helped us understand what was organic, what was plant, what was supernatural, so we could really bring that course to life in a faithful way. So we got busy kind of studying the plant life, understanding the names of them, how they function, what they did, where they live, if they were on the ceiling or the walls, do they make sounds, are they sentient? Just getting really, really obsessed with it. And we do make a point with licensed places to physically go, sit with those people, break bread with them, study the places. It's not a business deal that we run through an algorithm. It's like, you guys are fun. We think we can do something fun together and cool. You guys are willing to play and let us have fun with this. And now we want to go and really, really understand what your creative process is about and have kind of a conversation from a creative standpoint. And then we get down to the business of making it. In this case, we actually invented some new creatures. So that's, I think, No Butt. I can't remember. Yeah, that's what we ended up naming him. I'm not sure who, maybe that is Golf Ball Eyes. But now they're like even taking those and like bringing them into their physical space. So they really, probably of any IP partner we've had, they were super willing, and they really pushed us. Like every hole did something totally wild and different and unexpected. So they were just a ton of fun to work with. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So there's, I think it's kind of the final chamber there of, and it's got like lots of little like, they call them, can't remember. There's the name for their little like side interstitial rooms, and we've got a few of those as well that you go through a portal and you're kind of in a whole different realm. Yeah, so I mean, basically a little bit on our process. It gives us this ability to have an agile kind of development process. It's now, this is 9 to 12, which it was at the time, but it's now more like 15 to 18 months. We've done now 34 courses. But it really, we've really come to.
You said it went up or it went down? I'm sorry.
That's right. No, what was the question?
You said 9 to 12 months. You said it went up.
Yeah, it went up. Yeah, it's taken a little bit longer. We've gone from about 9 people to when I joined to 37 people. So it's just more people in there because we're adding different modes and different. Now there's other side activities that are in there. We've built a whole substrate under the main Welcome Island menu where you start, where there's like employee mode and secret passageways and other kind of gags, and so we're having to kind of build all that into the process as we put out each course as well. So it's extended the amount of time a little bit. But again, ultimately, we've really come to understand that we're working in service of people's imagination and their social time together. That I think you were saying earlier that it's like what we have now, the technology we have, and technology of where it's going, we very much are of the mind of what can we use what we have today. We haven't done any kind of mixed reality thing yet because most of our players have VR. Like half of our user base, like a lot of games that are 4 or 5 years old, they're still on the Quest 2, right? And so the minute we shut those people out with some sort of performance upgrade or mixed reality mode, there's just a ton of people who will be left behind, and that's what drives retention in the game, is people want to bring in the people they know, their coworkers, their buddies, their parents, and play again and again and again. We've really found this kind of cadence with every 7 weeks that people will, even if they don't follow us anywhere, which is most players, they're not on our Discord, they're not following us on X or Instagram, they just sort of know, like every 5 or 6 weeks, so I feel like there should just be like a new, and so, but that's important though, because there's a certain set of things we do from a publishing standpoint and a production standpoint where we've got to hit that cadence. If we've had to drop to like 12 weeks occasionally, and people drift away. It's hard to get them back. The thing about VR technology is it's out of sight, out of mind. It's not a screen that's like vibrating in your pocket and telling you, and no one's like on the Horizon app, hanging out, scrolling, looking for a good time, right? So if we don't put out that content reliably, people forget. And so we've really figured out that to keep them pleased and engaged and to keep that steady revenue coming in to pay the bills, we have to kind of keep that cadence, and that's our creative box. If we had all the time in the world, we could get spun out. We know we've got to get a course out every 7 weeks. I think beyond that, one other note before I open it up for questions is my job in particular is business strategy and development, so licensing in through Wallace & Gromit and Elvis and Jim Henson Company and all folks like that, but also licensing out. So we've got like the Grip-to-Butter, like a license controller attachment. We've got merchandise. We've got published soundtracks. We've got sheet music books. We've got all these different ways that players can kind of reward each other in real life. A lot of them will have themed birthday parties or tournaments, and they'll go meet each other in real life. We want to have ways they can celebrate the memories that they've made in VR out in the real world. And it's not a money-making part of the business. It's really just a way to kind of help them reward each other and tell that story of like, what's that shirt about? Oh, this one time I was at this thing and I was over here and you got it, So it lets them kind of share that excitement and break through the kind of inherently exclusive thing that is VR, which is like, well, it's kind of this technology. You have to have the right setup to like imagine it, golf underwater, So it kind of invites conversation and speculation, which is the reason why we do all that stuff. Anyway, with that, I'd like to open it up for questions and ideas. Yes, sir.
I love the Elvis course,
Oh, thank you.
and it makes total sense here that you've got a Disney designer, because it feels like a dark ride.
Yeah, yeah, very much so.
Mini-golf.
Yeah.
And you addressed this a little bit with Meow Wolf, but when you're doing a licensed IP, like, what's kind of the approval process?
Yeah. So they're all really different. I mean, we've talked to 50, 60 different companies about doing a course, and a lot of times it crashes and burns around money or immovability on the creative idea. Elvis was interesting in that they kind of cold called us. I mean, they did not have like a big brand group that runs them. It isn't like the Elvis estate. They sold it to some big conglomerate. But they were actually pitching golf pros, like people. And we were like, that's not really what we do. We could have an avatar that looks like a golf pro, but we're mini golf. No, and they were like, all right, well, how about Elvis? We were like, maybe, I don't know. Does Graceland come with that? But ultimately they said no. But they said song titles, not the music, but the song titles and movie titles and ephemera from his life would come with it, and his image and his signatures and all that kind of stuff, and certain signs. We were like, all right, well, maybe. And then we kind of went off for a little bit, and the design team was like, we got it. We've been trying to do grungy Vegas. Now we can make Elvis grungy Vegas. And they, even though they're the biggest global conglomerate we've worked with, they were so easy. Every time we brought them in, they were like, oh, it's great. Good. No changes? No, it's super. Like, no, not one change. And we didn't do anything edgy. Like, we didn't try to put like a toilet in there or anything like that. But they were just game for whatever. It's interesting. Arteman, Wallace and Gromit, they probably had the most notes, but it was less. I mean, they had notes specifically about the characters, and I think a lot of that was they're an active development studio, so that it isn't like putting their image on a lunchbox. It's like they're animated things. You can see things in profile. So they had a lot of notes about the stature of things, but more of their notes were about Britishness Oh, the shutters in England would never be this way. The butter is cut all wrong here. And it's just those kind of, and we wanted it to be right. Like when we do a course, we're doing like passport courses going around the world, and it's like, if we go to Venice, most of us will be like, oh yeah, whatever, that looks like Venice as I would imagine it, like in a cartoony sort of way, but we want people that have been, or people from Venice to be like, totally nail it. They got a gag in there that isn't on the postcard, you wouldn't really know, but they got that thing. So we want to make sure that we've really dialed in those details on IP or otherwise, that people catch those little details. So if anything, we drive more obsessive scope creep than the IP partners do. So yeah, totally. Yeah. Sure.
So also on the IP side of things, is there a course that you guys haven't done or was in the works that you really wanted to get done but didn't get done, or that is still on your dream list?
So many. Yeah, there's some. I mean, it's like never say never. I mean, there's ones that we've joked about, like what would be the worst possible course. There's courses that we've pitched that like
Civil War battle.
Yeah, we talked about all sorts of things. Yeah, exactly. Like InfoWars. That'd be really unpleasant. But there definitely has been some where like the IP partner was really excited to work with us. They had someone on the inside of the company that was a fan, and that's a big thing because we don't have to explain to them why Walkabout is special. They tell that story internally. But then it was too gory, or it was too adult, or it was like one beat away from something. Because like we have a 13 and up age kind of floor on our game, but we know that younger kids play, and it's like if they Google that and then find that one thing adjacent to it, we don't want to be the ones that led them. It's mini golf. It should be sweet and fun, So there's been a bunch like that where we kind of got like half a step into the conversation, be like, we want to, but no, we really shouldn't. And we're getting less precious about that, I think, as we go on. But yeah, there's a bunch that I kind of can't mention by name, but yeah, definitely a lot that we've kind of wanted to dance together, but it just hasn't been right for whatever reason. Yep.
From an aesthetic standpoint, even though the courses are so drastically different, they still look and feel like Walkabout Mini-Golf. And beyond aesthetics, are there certain rules that the whole team plays by to make sure that you always are consistent about like how Walkabout Mini-Golf plays and feels?
Oh yeah, very much so. So yeah, there's the low poly aesthetic, which we've talked about at length, but also there's shader effects, and you'll see in some courses where water will just kind of be represented by like circles and lines, and then others like Mount Olympus, where there'll be like fog and mist, and we'll have great debates about like, is that too realistic? But there's definitely a whole lot of rules about, should and shouldn't, how punishing the golf should be. It needs to be, and there's times when we've gotten that wrong, right? Where we're like, Tet the Station or Upside Town, brutally difficult courses. We've learned like, okay, a lot of players don't enjoy that. Let's make, kind of meet down the middle somewhere. But I think the other thing, there's aesthetic things, there's physics things, there's performance things, there's atmospheric sort of things, there's accessibility kind of rules that we've set apart. But also we've figured out that with something like mini golf that so many people enjoy month after month, that there could be a race towards the center. Meaning let's just do something that like 95% of the people will love. But then we're not taking any risks. And we feel like it'll just be a race towards the center, and that we'll lose our inspiration and kind of fire in the belly for it. That the players ultimately will feel that. It'll be like a romance that dies out, where it's like, well, every Valentine's Day she brings me flowers and candies, whatever. But it's like, when's the surprise? When's that sense of wonder? And so there's definitely, we kind of like rules are made to be bent a little bit. So there's a lot of things that are exceptions to the rule, where we'll not work against house style or kind of big performance do's and don'ts, but we'll compromise a little bit. It's like, this is really worth the lift, even if we have to compromise a little bit over here. So we'll find a way to kind of break and bend those rules to keep ourselves kind of challenged technically and aesthetically. Yeah.
Flipping that, do you have any characteristics of your courses that are sort of expected, like you always have a windmill?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. There's
Every golf course out there has a windmill.
Yeah. And we did Coyote Valley, which has enormous, like 7-story tall windmills. So that was kind of our subversion of that expectation. But every course has 18 easy holes, 18 hard mode holes. There's 18 lost balls on the easy course. There's a scavenger hunt on the hard mode that earns you a commemorative putter. But also there's all these weird things, like there's a bunch of bananas, like one bunch of bananas on a ton of courses. There's dead bodies on a bunch of the courses, like a skeleton, or just like someone that's sort of like keeled over and making the course. That's become an ongoing gag. So we'll have these little kind of Easter eggs that people know to look for on those courses and kind of seek out. And there are a few other references that have been there as well that kind of are, again, Easter eggs or red herrings as well. Yeah. So yeah, a lot of little kind of funny references that are particular to our take on mini golf that are just kind of funny and weird. Yeah.
So I absolutely love both what Meow Wolf does as far as world building and what Mighty Coconut does for all the courses. When the production process was happening between the two teams, what is something that was impactful or maybe special about it that might not be shared commonly? Something that just like this is a takeaway that like is something we reference in the team.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'll say one thing that's a real joy of our collaborations, and we've collaborated on courses as well as, like we did a thing with Exploding Kittens on a special fox hunt and some avatars, is we learn a little bit about their creative process. And something that came out of our Meow Wolf collaboration was they've got something called a frosting phase, where they'll design it, they make it all in a facility in Santa Fe, including all the stuff here in Houston. It's called the Caterpillar, because that used to be the Caterpillar construction vehicle manufacturing facility, and it's glorious. Like you go there, and it's like, we'll make you burst into tears. There's like 800 weirdos, welding stuff, having full-time jobs, air conditioning, and you're like, they did it. They figured out a way to employ artists full-time to just try shit, which is incredible. But what they've learned over time is that they'll have the vision, they'll manufacture everything, they'll put it together, and they'll be like, it isn't quite there yet. And so they allow like 6 weeks to do this kind of like frosting phase, where they'll just go in and like model stuff, stick other things on, reposition things, bring in whole other elements, or they just realize it isn't quite done yet. And so we've added that into our production process just to make sure there's space for that crazy idea of like, oh, now that I see it all together, what we really need is this one gag. All right, let's step into it. Like that's really worth doing. So we've learned that part of the process from them. They're just so, like they dream the impossible dream. You know, they're so wild in their thinking. So it was, that really influenced the way we work for sure.
Another thing I wanted to ask.
Yeah.
You guys absolutely nail lighting. It just, I've been through countless experiences. How much time in that direction? Let's say 15 months. If you distill it down, obviously it's not 15 consecutive. You said you kind of.
Yeah. It's kind of moving through the pipeline through different people,
How
right?
much of that production team of 30 plus people is focused on lighting, or is how does that kind of compartmentalize, or is it just kind of spread homogenous throughout the entire process?
No, it's one guy, and he works on it for like a week. Yeah, he's super talented. His name's Tony Davidson. He used to work at Scion actually back in the early Mist days. I mean, like people have ideas and they'll do technical hacks for him. And we showed you Zach Hall's like conceptual lighting things, but in terms of the actual going in and making it so, yeah, and that takes it, like I gotta say, like we play the courses 5 months ahead before they go live, and they just kind of turn on house lights, for most of that time. And you kind of get a sense, you're like, all right, well this is Candyland or whatever, and you play it, but then they bring in the actual lights, and it's like so much, it's so much different for sure. And it really like, with that, I mean, I don't want to speak for the team, but it's like 35% of the aesthetics of the course. Like if you pull people sometimes like we have a minifigure line made by the same people that make this putter attachment. And they're like, can we just give us the models, we'll make a thing. It's like, it won't look like anything. I mean, you'll see the low poly model, but it won't look magical or it won't have character and personality and gravity to it, because it's just, 16 polys sort of stuck together. The lighting is that really magical sort of moment that sells it for sure. So yeah, Tony's an incredible guy for sure. And I mean, and we're always trying to please each other first. If we can make each other well up or, it's like you know you've really done something, right? So that's the hope anyway. Yep. Yes.
Yeah, with so many people working simultaneously on the courses, I was curious, what's some of your most and least favorite project management software?
Oh yeah, we have so many different ones. I mean, yeah, I remember just being so overwhelmed when I started, and we've added probably 30% more since I started. I mean, there's Gravity Sketch, there's Unity, there's Slack. We use Asana as our main project management. We also use Mural, and now we're using Miro in addition to Mural, because different people have different ways of sort of thinking. And we kind of have an animation style production flow. We'll check out scenes and set things in. So it's very sort of like our own way of doing it. I don't know that other developers would be comfortable with it, and we've had people come over from other studios and join the team. It's like that's probably the hardest part, is figuring out our way of working. Yeah, but Asana is sort of our imperfect project management solution. But yeah, we use so many. There's like 24 different platforms that we're using daily just to kind of communicate all the different tasks and ideas and files. And a big part of our system is a permission system. So if you play the game, it's like 10 gigabytes. Now it's like 11, 12 gigabytes. It's really gotten kind of large. But we have this permission system that allows us to extemporaneously turn things on and off. So it's like, if you guys were playing the game for April Fools and there was the puppet. So now there's a sock puppet in the game. If you hold your controller up and hit the little grip button, your hand will just turn into a sock puppet. We have that built in, kind of unseen, and we're able to flip it on. And then we can turn things back off again. So that's a powerful way to sort of like make the place feel alive. So much of what we did for the first 3.5 years was about kind of talking about it as though it was a place. There'd be social media posts about someone's dropped a tray full of corn dogs over on hole 7. Par is now set to 24. Kind of jokes that gave you the sense of this. But now we're able to actually do extemporaneous things so that people can rush out and go see that and be like, oh, something changed downstairs. What happened and how did that correlate? And so it's a powerful system that enables us to kind of bring it to life in a way that we couldn't otherwise. So. Yes, I want to come back over here. Yeah.
Recently, y'all have been doing remasters of some of the original courses.
We have, yep.
And are y'all intending to kind of go through and touch upon every one of those over time?
Yeah, I mean, it's controversial. The first 2 remasters we did were the first 2 courses that came out, and we did those because Lucas made those by himself, and so they were kind of lifeless in terms of like the trees didn't, sway in the wind, and they were kind of empty vegetation-wise. But we were really, really careful not to touch the gameplay because people have their shots dialed in. They know that this dot lines up with that crack over there. And so we're obsessive about that. So we did that one, and we did Cherry Blossom. We have others that we want to do a glow up for. And we are going in and adding, there's now platforms where you can do slingshot challenges on a bunch of them. So we'll have to go back in and add those. But yeah, I think we will get around to some of those original 8 courses that were included in the game at launch. Actually, I think it had 4 at launch, then we added 4 free ones. So we'll probably get to those over time. But a lot of times we'll joke now. It'll be like, have a course ready to go out. Like, oh, crap, that didn't make it. And then it's like, we'll put it in the 2028 remaster. We'll get back to it later. That's future me's problem. So, yes.
Yeah, do you see AI kind of helping with more of the design elements as far as just kind of what y'all would do as far as the storyboarding?
Yeah. So we've definitely had a lot of debates, probably like every company, about AI, and for us, we take a lot of pride in being handmade. Every poly is placed, by hand by an individual, laying on the floor and putting those in, and we don't really want to like make that procedural and kind of auto-generated because we feel like it would be felt on the other end by players. But we'll do it for like early ideation of like I'm kind of thinking this, and just like here's 3 things like this, or this. 3rd one. All right, now I'm going to go make that by hand, right? So it kind of speeds up some of that early brainstorming and mood boarding sort of stuff. We don't use it on writing. We don't use it on, there might be code checking or things of that nature, but we don't do it on anything that ends up visible or perceptible in the game. Also, we don't want to be putting our artists out of work. Like we've had this same team of artists that we really want to like have put down roots and have them be comfortable and not feeling like they could be replacing my job with AI, We feel like that would kind of create unrest. So, and so much of our open player message is like, if you guys keep supporting and paying, we'll keep making this game. We're going to keep this team around. We're going to, really do right by you. And so we feel like it'd be a little bit of a switcheroo for like, aha, we're lobbing off a third of the team for AI. I can't do that. But it's definitely creeping in. I think another thing we're cognizant of is how's it learning from our stuff? As second in our Dropbox stuff, whatever. It's like that's a little daunting and weird. So we're guarded about that. We don't have everything automatically set to yes for AI. So I feel like there's some other hands. Eric.
Talk about by the numbers.
Yeah.
What percentage of gameplay is social?
Yeah. 60%. Yeah, 60% of sessions are social, which is incredible. It's increased over time, yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, 60% are social. Half of the sessions are like 2.5 hours long, so people basically play until they're battered. Yeah, or the battery, exactly. And that's something, I think is interesting in that people basically, they want to like inhabit these spaces. They don't just go in and play one round. Like they'll go and explore and explore and explore. And a lot of people, we hear this time and again, people go and they'll play their golf and they'll just sit there. They'll sit on top of a whale and ride it around and be like, I always thought I was going to be a marine biologist. They'll get kind of wistful, and which is great. It's beautiful. We've heard some really, really touching stories. There's a couple that fell in love on the bridge in Shangri-La. They live many states away, and now they're engaged. And so there's lots of things like that where people they stay in touch, but also people will meet. There's another couple in England that met in a multiplayer game, and now live together in England. So.
The group that I play with,
Yeah.
so one's in Sydney, 3 of us are in the U.S.
Yeah.
Mountain Time, Central Time, East Coast Time, and then one's in Ireland.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
We play all across the whole world.
Incredible. Yeah. Yeah. On Monday, I played with this guy, Paul from Africa. He's in Kenya, and he's got VR Africa as his nonprofit, and they work to empower students and entrepreneurs with VR. Really great group. They could be a great sister organization. But I got together and played with him, and he was saying they have an international group. And he said 2 weeks ago, when the floods happened in the Hill Country, at the end of the round, they stopped and did like a traditional African prayer for the lives lost. I was just like, that's so touching. It has nothing to do with Mighty Coconut, but it's just like that. They felt like that was a sacred place. They were going to have them share that human moment together, which is just so powerful. And it's why we focus on the individual stories. Like to us, the best players are people that teach or that connect or that tell that story about their dad, not the people that have the best scores. Those people are fine. They can go and keep acing and obsessing over their scores, but it's like we want to really. It's like when you go to high school and you walk in and the quarterback's trophy is right in the middle. And you're like, got it, note taken. That's who matters in this school, right? Yeah. The jock. And we very much have had the philosophy that every player matters, right? And that people that have an outsized influence are people that share their humanity and take care of each other or look after a vulnerable person of the community. So we try to reward those people and really kind of signal that. So, yep, indeed. Awesome. Yeah, indeed. Yeah.
What are some wish list items that things that you can just snap your fingers at?
Oh.
What are things you want?
Wow. Eric's getting out the checkbook right now.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's so many things. I mean, I was saying over dinner that one of the hardest things of working at Mighty Coconut is being like that close and still I have to, bite my tongue and be like, I've got an idea and I want you to do it. There's so many things. There's IP I want us to do. There's like little modes and tricks I want us to do. We were talking about like blow it into the hole mode. Where you get. And have it go like it's right on there. Mulligans are on the list. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, all those kind of things. I mean, there's so many different things, and I think there's other kinds of like related, sort of low-key parlor sports that could play well on those exact courses. So we're getting our way around to. We basically have rewritten the engine entirely underneath the working game. So now that you can do all these other things, so that's going to be coming more quickly too, for sure. Yep.
Are you going to open it up, providing an API for users in a community to build their own worlds?
So we cannot. That's often requested. The problem is that it's all handmade. So it would take like 25 specialist people to go in and physically build those things. We'd have to build a whole new system to.
Repository of assets or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, if we were going to do it, we could do like
Crafted like, you know,
one little space so you could just move obstacles around.
building
Like,
your own levels of Doom or something.
yeah, I mean, you could do like a little practice, box of a room this size and move things around and put a ramp and a loop to loop. We thought about things like that you could do. So that's within the realm of possibility. But also, it's like the infrastructure of like approving those things, if they're going to be available for others to play. Are they making gross shapes out of the things? And we have to then like rate them in different sort of ways. So it's like, what can we do that we can make available to the most number of people on the most number of devices? That is possible, but is it like doable?
You feel better with being a walled garden.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. And we do, like I said, kind of roll our own in terms of a lot of the technology and solutions because we want to be accessible across all the platforms by the most number of people, not affected by platform whims about what they're going to take away or add to or break. So anything we do, we have to be sure that it can work on, like one headset will want to do controller free, which we've tried, but isn't especially compelling. But it's like, once we do it on one headset, everyone's going to want that. Even if they don't like it, they're going to want it on their headset. So it's like, are we ready to unlock that for everybody? It just kind of more platforms, more features, more problems. So we got to be careful about what we do. And Lucas, who made the game and is the CEO, is really great about just restraint and like, maybe we don't. We could do that. What if we don't? And do this instead, or maybe do it eventually. So it's hard in that way. Yes.
You had mentioned earlier working in VR to develop in VR
Yep.
by using, I believe, Gravity Sketch.
Mhm.
Do you use Gravity Sketch for like the final models that make it into the game, or do you use some other different software for that?
Yeah, I'm almost certain that, the models are made in Gravity Sketch. Yeah. I could be wrong on that. I'll find out when the video comes out, and I'll correct it in time. But yeah. And we've got like a really great small team of modelers that hand model each individual thing. It's kind of an art unto itself for sure. I feel like I saw a hand over in the periphery over here. Oh, yeah, that's right.
I think one of the hallmarks of the success of this game is like, if you have a mediocre experience, people are talking about, oh, I played it or I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
Almost universally, we talk, even in this group, you can see, everybody's like, oh, but what about this idea? Everyone wants to contribute.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
as an individual user,
Mm-hmm.
how do you encourage folks to pass on their feedback beyond just saying 5 stars, I like this?
Yeah, for sure.
I think that, blowing on the ball to get it in the hole, that's like my favorite feature. And then you get a massive amount of 50,000 requests and then it helps you prioritize in-house. How would you encourage people to send feedback?
Yeah, I mean, Discord is helpful. There's a request a feature, report a bug feature there, and that, the developers have direct eyes on that. Although that is kind of a niche audience, right? It's usually like obsessive users, highly pedantic users, technical users, a lot of competitive users. But I think also telling your story out in the open and tagging us helps as well. Just because that gets your actual, your friend network plugged into it, chiming in too. Then we share those very much internally too, and say, like, there's a bunch of upvotes on this ticket over here, but also look how much love and kind of other people are chiming in on this other kind of post too. So that's really worth doing. And sometimes we're not a data-driven company in that way, so it'll be just sort of like someone will suggest something, will be like, oh, that's like one person can do that in 30 minutes. We're totally doing that. That's worth doing. Even if it's like a week from shipping, it's like that idea came in, like the soundtrack for Sweetopia in hard mode, that kind of like sound. It was like one of those like last minute. Oh, we should have done that. Hold on a minute. Yeah, he's gonna do it. We're gonna do it. So don't be. Yeah, even if you don't have like a big following or a crazy idea, suggest it, because we definitely watch for sure and want to hear that. Yeah, for sure. And that's the beautiful thing about the studio, the culture, is that HR person, everyone has influence. If it's a good idea, good bit of input, good criticism, it gets heard and sourced and implemented if it's possible.
You hear that, guys? He says join the Discord too.
Yeah. Joining the Discord of any group is an important thing to do. Yeah, neat. Yes.
Considering what you're able to accomplish with your Gravity Sketch, I'm curious if Meta's reached out to you about Horizon.
They haven't. It's interesting. I mean, I know they are doing kind of mini golf stuff in Horizon World, and we've had a look at it. It's being recorded.
Say no more.
Horizon World's great, but again, it's like they have they have their own avatars, and it's like that's great, but it's not something that applies to all of our different players, and so we don't want to give any one platform some sort of advantage. We've talked about, do we do like a player lounge there, or like a VIP masterclass room or something? But honestly, we're just like, we could just host that in Walkabout. We already have an open place that a lot of people have. Not to say we would never, it's just we haven't found a compelling reason to do that yet. Yeah, but we have done collaborations with other platforms. So we've done Synth Riders, did kind of an IP thing. We did Puzzling Places, did a puzzle based on one of our worlds. We did something with Arcade Legend. We're working on some other ones. So like, again, if there's a sense of our player reward, mutual player reward, and the developer is down to play, we're like, sure. So if Horizon World came to us to like, we have a fun idea of how to kind of extend, do something you can't do in Walkabout over here, we'd be open to it for sure. We want to kind of play in different ways. Yes?
What are some things that are obscure or more overlooked that you're proud of?
Yeah, I mean, there are a ton of, there's so many things that come to mind. There's a lot of, yeah. I mean, there's a ton of like in-game things, like, Easter eggs that we've never told anyone about, that only a couple of people have found or don't know the reference to. Those are fun little, geeky things that we do. But I think the things that I'm most proud of and that get talking most are the little human things, not little things, but just like, if it happens to like one family and they share that story, and it's like we tell that story over and over again. There was when we did the Meow Wolf course, I make it obviously a point whenever I go somewhere, I'm like, I'm going to go out and meet with players, meet with devs, because I come from like a rock band background, so that's just what, if you on tour, you go to the record store, you meet people, right? And so we were like, oh, let's go down the street, we'll have a little a bar meetup, and about 45 people came out. One young lady drove from El Paso like 12 hours one way by herself to be there. But this other woman came up to me, probably 60, grabbed me by the shoulders, and she was like, you saved my sister's life. And I was like, thank you, I don't know what you're talking about. And she was like, no. And she was like, gripping me and eyes welling up. And basically her husband had died, her twin sister. And she had been in the throes of grief, nothing was helping, and her sister's son had bought her a headset, and she had tried a couple things, maybe exercise games or rhythm games, and they both ended up getting Walkabout. And she said, for the first time, I heard her laugh again. She was smiling. We were squealing like when we were kids. They go on daily adventures. And so like that's the story that I'm proud of, in that it's why we go to these events. It's why we do these little fan reward things. It reminds us that it isn't like an award. It's not like an achievement. It's not a data point. But it reminds us that for every one person that comes and grabs you by the shoulders, there's thousands and thousands of other people that are having these touching experiences, these powerful, important personal experiences that don't have the words or come out in person. But we have to remember those people. And so we'll tell those stories again and again internally of like, what about Rhonda? Remember Rhonda and her sister? We have to create features like the selfie cam we just put in. We've been talking about that for like a year and a half. It's like, because the tech team is like, what's the most powerful thing we could put in? We were like, selfies. Yeah. People can take a selfie, but it's like a set of buttons, and you got to do a replay and run over and get over here. If we can just make a selfie stick that you can hold out and take a picture, that's something the Rhondas of the world would use. And so like it's those kind of like human player stories that I'm the most proud of, because they remind us of the work that we're doing for like regular people, but also to help us stay connected to each other in the work. So yeah, definitely. Any other final questions? And I don't know if we have to run or hang a little bit. You can slow walk. Yeah, so I've got some like stickers. I've got a couple of T-shirts. If you want one of those, let me know. And I've got some business cards if you want to follow up via email. I'm happy to do that as well. Anyway, thank you all so much. I really appreciate it.